She worked double shifts for 9 years to put a man through law school. She skipped vacations, skipped sleep, skipped herself, all for a man who was secretly signing her name to crimes she didn't know existed. When Raymond handed her the divorce papers, he didn't even look up from his phone. 3 weeks later, in a Houston alley at midnight, she would meet the man Raymond had been terrified of for 2 years. And that man, cold, Korean, ruthless, would look at Naomi Carter like she was the one thing in his entire empire he had not planned for. This is her story. Stay with me. The gunshot comes first, then the silence that swallows it whole. Naomi Carter stands at the mouth of an alley off Bagby Street and does not run despite. Every nerve ending she owns is screaming the word at her in her mother's voice. Run, baby. Turn around, run. But her feet stayed flat on the wet pavement, and her eyes find the two figures in the shadow and her brain. The one that spent 9 years in emergency rooms and reading people and making the call nobody else wanted to make, says, "One of them is dying." She steps forward. The standing man turns. He is tall, broad through the shoulders in the way of someone who was built first and dressed second. Korean, somewhere in his mid-30s, with a face so composed it borders on architectural, clean-jawed, dark eyes, the kind of stillness that does not come from peace but from absolute, practiced control. His right hand holds something she cannot name and does not look at directly. His eyes land on her the way a scope lands on a target, precise and unhurried. He walks away and says, his English unaccented and quiet as a closed door, "Forget this street exists." The man on the ground makes a sound like a question. Naomi looks down at him. Mid-40s, gray suit jacket soaking through at the left shoulder, 2 fingers pressed to the wound with the desperate optimism of a man who does not know anatomy. His lips are the color of old chalk. She has seen this before and knows exactly how many minutes this look has a name for. "He needs a hospital," she says. Her voice shakes on the last syllable and she hates it. The tall man's eyes move across her face in one slow pass. She feels it like a physical thing, like fingers lifting the edge of something private. "You're not running," he says. "I'm too tired to run." It comes out before she can stop it. The truth of the last 21 days, the divorce papers Raymond slid across the kitchen table without looking up, the 9 years of double shifts at Grady Memorial that put him through law school, the 2 suitcases in her sister's apartment in College Park, the drive to Houston on a Tuesday with the radio off because every song felt like an accusation. All of it compressed into 6 words and dropped at the feet of a stranger in an alley. He looks at her for one long moment, then he steps aside, and she drops to her knees on the concrete and opens her work bag. Her hands does not shake. They never shake when someone needs them. That is the only part of herself she still trusts completely. She works for 11 minutes. The tall man stands above her the entire time, watching the alley entrances with the quiet vigilance of something apex. The wounded man's breathing steadies, not safe, but stable enough to move. When she sits back on her heels, the tall man crouches beside her. Not close enough to crowd her, but close enough to be deliberate. "What's your name?" "Naomi." "You're not from Houston." "I'm from Atlanta." He nods once, confirmation, not surprise, and reaches into his jacket. He places a card on the concrete between them. Black, with no company name or title. Only a number printed in clean silver type. "My name is Kang Jae-won." A pause. "If anyone follows you home tonight, call that number, not 911. She looks up at him. "Why would anyone follow me?" "Because the man you just saved is my enemy." He stands, straightens his cuffs with 2 precise movements. "And you just made yourself very interesting to the people who want him dead." He walks away without looking back. Naomi picks up the card, stands, walks the 6 blocks to her midtown studio without checking behind her once, bolts the door, pours water and does not drink it. Then, her phone buzzes with a message from Raymond. "I know where you're staying. We need to talk. It's about who you just helped tonight. I've been watching Kang Jae-won for 2 years, Naomi. He's the reason our marriage ended. Not me. You're already inside something you don't understand." She reads it 4 times. The card is still warm from the concrete. Then she dials on it. Raymond says Sunwon destroyed their marriage. Sunwon says Raymond is a criminal. Only one of them is telling the truth, and you already have enough information to start guessing which one. Drop your theory in the comments right now. I read every single one. Let's see who figures it out first. And keep watching, because the next 60 seconds are going to change everything you think you know about that alley. He answered before the second ring, like he was already waiting. His voice is the same as it was in the alley, low, unhurried, the verbal equivalent of a room with no exits. Naomi grips her phone and leans against her kitchen wall and decides in that precise moment that she will not be managed. Raymond texted me, she says. He knows your name. He says you're the reason our marriage fell apart. I want to know what that means, and I want to know right now. Silence, 3 full seconds of it. A car will be outside your building in 8 minutes. I didn't agree to get in a car. No, he says, you called a beat. That was the agreement. The line goes quiet before she can answer. The car is black, unmarked, and arrives in 7 minutes. The driver does not speak. They take her to a building in River Oaks whose lobby has no visible reception desk and no audible music, and an elevator that requires a keycard for the upper floors. She is brought to the 32nd floor. The doors open directly into a space that feels less like a penthouse and more like a decision. All floor-to-ceiling Houston skyline and dark wood, and the particular silence of rooms that have absorbed serious conversations for years. Sunwon is standing at the window with his back to her, still in the same dark suit from the alley. His jacket is off now, draped over a chair with the kind of casual precision that suggests everything he does is in some way intentional. He turns when she enters. In proper light, with the city spread behind him like a kingdom he has already claimed, he is something different than he was in the alley. The alley version of him was danger. This version is authority. The distinction makes her stomach tighten in a way she does not immediately have language for. Sit, he says. I'll stand. Something moves at the corner of his mouth. Not a smile. The ghost of one, maybe, surprised him before he could stop it. Raymond Lee, he says, picking up a glass of water and handing it to her with no explanation, has been facilitating money movement for Korean investors through Atlanta-based law firms for approximately 4 years. He is careful. He is well-connected. He has, until recently, been very difficult to prove. He pauses. He is also the kind of man who marries women who make him look credible. The water glass is cold in her palm. She focuses on that. You're saying I was useful to him. I'm saying he is strategic. Sunwon's eyes hold her steadily. What specifically he used you for, I have documentation. I will show you, but not tonight. Why not tonight? Because you are still deciding whether to trust me, and I would rather you arrive at that decision without being overwhelmed. It is such an unexpectedly considered thing to say that it stops her completely. She looks at him, really looks, and finds nothing readable on his face, which is somehow more unsettling than if he had smiled. He offers her the guest suite, but she refuses. Then he looks at her with something that rearranges the air in the room. Not frustration, not authority, but something that sits closer to respect, like she has just confirmed a calculation he had already run. She is at the elevator when she stops herself and turns. If Raymond has been watching you for 2 years, why is he only reaching out to me now, the same night I ran into you? Sunwon sets down his glass. Across 30 feet of expensive silence, she watches something pass across his face that he does not try to hide and does not try to explain. He looks at her with eyes that carry a weight she cannot yet name. Because tonight was not the first time I've seen you, Naomi. The elevator doors open behind her. She does not get in. And Sunwon, alone for the 3 seconds before she speaks again, does something he has not done in a boardroom or a back alley or a meeting with men who make governments nervous. He holds his breath. He does not realize it until she turns around. He cannot remember the last time that happened. Explain that. Her voice is a flat line, right now. He does not flinch. He moves to the desk against the far wall and opens a drawer and removes a folder the thickness of a small novel. He sets it on the table between them and steps back, giving her space. She realizes, the way you give space to something that might need room to break. She opens it. Her name is on the first page, her nursing license number, her home address in Atlanta, the house that was never hers, apparently, because the deed has Raymond's parents' names on it and always did. There are bank accounts she has never seen that carry her signature. An LLC in Delaware using her credentials as the registered medical professional. Her face on a driver's license from a state she has never lived in. She turns pages slowly. The room smells of cedar and something colder, the specific cold of air conditioning in rooms where serious things happen. He opened these the year we got married, she says. It is not a question. The year before, Sun-won says quietly. She closes the folder and presses both palms flat on the cover. The texture of it, slightly rough, slightly cool, is the only thing that feels real right now. 9 years. She had spent 9 years believing the distance in Raymond's eyes was stress, ambition, and the particular blindness of a man building something. She had made herself smaller to give him room. She had learned to read a room in emergency medicine and failed completely to read the room she slept in every night. "Excuse me," she says. The bathroom is white marble and very still. She turns on the faucet and grips the sink basin and allows herself exactly what she has earned, the full, ugly, private weight of it. Her shoulders shake. The sound she makes is not a sob. It is something older and less nameable. She lets it happen once, and then she runs cold water over her wrists the way her mother taught her. Breathes 4 counts in and 4 counts out, and looks at herself in the mirror until she finds the version of her face she can use. She walks back out. Sun-won is standing by the window with his back to her, deliberately, she understands. He heard. He is giving her the dignity of the pretense that he did not. She sits, "Show me everything." He does. For the next hour he lays it out, the investor network, the shell companies, Raymond's access to Korean-American financial circles through a Houston connection Sun-won has been building toward for 2 years. He speaks without embellishment and without softening. She listens the way she listens to trauma surgeons mid-procedure, completely, clinically, filing everything. When he finishes, she says, "I'll go to the FBI." He opens a second folder, slides 1 page across. The name at the top is a Houston district attorney she has seen on local news, smiling, ribbon-cutting, and photographed with children at community events. She sits back. The chair leather exhales beneath her. "So there's no clean door," she says. "There is," he says, "just not a fast one." He reaches across the table to close the folder near her hand, and for one suspended moment they are close. His hand near hers, the air between them carrying the specific charge of proximity that neither of them has invited, and neither of them is retreating from, and then his phone rings. He pulls back. The moment dissolves like it was never there at all. He steps away to answer. 2 sentences in Korean, his voice dropping to something private. When he returns, his face has rearranged itself into something careful. Seo Hyun enters from the hallway. He leans and speaks quickly into Sun-won's ear. Then, almost as an afterthought, he sets a printed report on the corner of the table and leaves. Sun-won looks at Naomi. In 11 hours of knowing this man, she has cataloged his expressions by what they are not warm, not nervous, not performative. This one is new. This one is something adjacent to guilt. "Raymond didn't just marry you to move money," he says. His voice is even, but his eyes are not. "There's something else, something specific to you, something I should have told you before tonight." She looks at him and feels the floor shift beneath a floor she had only just learned to stand on. Then Seo Hyun reappears in the doorway and says quietly, "He's here, sir. Downtown Houston, the Marriott on Louisiana Street. He checked in an hour ago." Raymond Lee, not in Atlanta. Already in the same city. Already watching. By the second night, she has stopped jumping at the sound of the elevator. That is what frightens her. Not Sun-won's men moving through the building like the weather. Not the city spread 40 floors below her, indifferent and enormous. Not even the folder still sitting on the desk with her name printed on it in a font that means you were always evidence. What frightens her is how quickly her nervous system has begun to calibrate to this place. Her shoulders drop when she enters. She has started sleeping before 2 in the morning. She is heading back to her room after a late glass of water when she hears it, voices, low and urgent, from behind the door of the small conference room near the elevator. She doesn't mean to stop. She stops. 2 of Sunwon's men. Fast Korean, most of it beyond her. But one phrase lands clean because she has heard it before, from Sunwon himself, spoken with the particular weight of someone nomming something important. Her name. Naomi. And then, 2 seconds later, a second phrase she has to translate slowly in her head, the way you translate something you hope you've gotten wrong. The father knows. She walks back to her room, sits on the edge of the bed and breathes. She does not know what it means yet, but she knows it means something. She finds the rooftop garden by accident at 1:47 a.m., a door at the end of the corridor marked only by a faint line of cooler air beneath it. She pushes through, and there is the sky, Houston's tangerine glow pressed up against the underside of the clouds, the hum of the city a living thing below. Sunwon is already there. He is standing at the far railing with no jacket, sleeves rolled to the elbow, a ceramic mug held in both hands. He does not startle. He turns with the slow certainty of a man who heard the door open and chose to stay. They look at each other across 10 feet of rooftop garden. Neither speaks first. She walks to the railing, stands beside him, not close, not far. The city exhales upward around them, warm and smelling of rain and diesel, and somewhere beneath it, faintly, the salt edge of the Gulf. He goes inside, returns 3 minutes later with a second mug, and sets it beside her hand on the railing without asking. The tea is soothing, chamomile, warm, and nothing like what she would have chosen. She wraps both hands around it and drinks. "Tell me something that has nothing to do with Raymond," she says. He is quiet long enough that she thinks he won't. "My grandmother had a house in Busan," he says finally, "on a hillside. You could see the harbor from the kitchen window. She made soup at 5 in the morning because she said the cold came through the walls at 4 and it was easier to get up than to fight it." A pause. "I have not been back there in 11 years. "Why not?" He looks at the city, because some places stay better in memory than in return. She understands that sentence in her entire body. "My mother wore a different church hat every Sunday," she says. "Kept them on a shelf above the coat closet. 43 of them. She said a woman should always walk into a room having already decided she belongs there." Sunwon turns his head and looks at her with something unguarded, the first fully unguarded expression she has seen on him, and she has the sudden, vertiginous sense that she is seeing something very few people have been permitted to see. They are standing close enough now that she can feel the warmth coming off his arm. Neither of them moves. Neither of them leaves. The moment stretches and stretches, and the city holds its breath, and she is aware of the exact distance between her hand on the railing and his. 2 inches. Less. And she is aware that she is not moving away from it, and neither is he. And the awareness builds into something enormous and quiet, and his phone alarm sounds. The moment folds in on itself and disappears. He looks at the screen and his face returns to what it usually is, controlled, closed, and the shutters drawn. He straightens. "You should sleep." "So should you." He almost smiles, almost. She goes back inside. In her room, before she sleeps, she crosses to the side table where she'd seen him set down a folder earlier, casually, mid-conversation, and it is still there, half open. She means only to close it. Her own photograph stares back at her. Atlanta. The parking structure outside Grady Memorial. Her in scrubs, mid-stride, not looking at the camera. The timestamp on the photo is 14 months ago. She closes the folder carefully, sets it back exactly as it was, goes to bed and does not sleep. She puts the photograph on the table between them at breakfast. She does not say good morning first. She does not let him pour coffee first. She sets it down flat and slides it forward with 2 fingers and watches his face, and his face does exactly what she feared. It does not look surprised. Atlanta, she says, 14 months ago, my hospital parking garage. She folds her hands on the table. Her voice is the voice she uses when families need the truth and sentiment is a cruelty. Start talking. Sunwon sets down his cup. He looks at the photograph for a long moment with his elbows on his knees and his hands loosely clasped. The first time she has seen his posture carry any weight in it, like something is pressing down from somewhere above him. There was a woman before you, he says. Her name was Grace. Naomi does not move. Grace Whitfield. She was a teacher in Atlanta, 3rd grade. He does not look up yet. Raymond found her through the same investor network, a mutual contact who ran a community development nonprofit as a front. Raymond was charming and patient, and he married her in 18 months. A pause with the density of a held breath. He used her identity to move money for 2 years. When the investors grew nervous about the trail, Raymond dissolved everything and walked away. Grace was left with a credit score in ruins, an IRS audit she could not explain, and a legal bill she could not pay. Naomi's throat closes. She came to me, he continues, because a mutual contact in the Korean-American business community connected us. She needed someone with resources outside law enforcement, because the people she had gone to in law enforcement had sent her back to Raymond. His jaw shifts. I was building a case. Slowly. She was patient. He stops. The silence in the room has texture now. Naomi sits inside it and waits. 8 months into the process, she died in a car accident on I-285. Police ruled it weather-related. He looks up at her now, and his eyes are the eyes of a man who has made a permanent peace with a specific category of grief. It was raining. She was a careful driver. The accident happened half a mile from Raymond's attorney's office. A breath. I do not believe in coincidence. The morning light through the floor-to-ceiling glass is soft and pale, and entirely indifferent to what it is illuminating. Naomi stands up, walks to the window, presses one hand to the glass and looks at Houston walking below and processes the mathematics of what she has just been told. A woman who came before her. The same trap, the same exit, the same obliteration of a life built in good faith. And 1 degree of separation between Grace Whitfield and Naomi Carter is a man who had been watching Raymond long enough to see the pattern repeat. You knew he would do it again, she says to the glass. Yes. You knew when my name appeared in the trail. Yes. And the photograph, she turns, Atlanta, 14 months ago. He stands, meets her eyes without evasion. I needed to know if you were involved willingly. I needed to know who you were, a beat, but I learned who you were. She stares at him. The room is very quiet. Something enormous is moving through her that is not anger exactly and is not relief exactly. It is the specific internal weather of a woman who has been simultaneously protected and deceived by the same person and cannot yet determine which weight is greater. You could have told me, she says. You would have run. You don't know that. Naomi, just her name, quiet and direct and full. You signed divorce papers and drove to another state in the same week. When cornered, you bolt, not from cowardice, from pride. You would have run from being someone's case file. He pauses. I couldn't let that happen. She holds that, turns it over. He crosses toward her slowly, no urgency, no performance, and stops close enough that she can see the even rise of his breathing and the slight tension at the corner of his eyes that she is beginning to understand, is what concern looks like on this particular face. He lifts his hand toward her face. She does not step back. His fingers reach her jaw, and the touch is so careful it is almost formal, like a declaration in a language that doesn't have words yet. And she is looking at him, and he is looking at her, and the city below them is 8 million people who will never know this moment happened. Mr. Kang, Seo Hyun's voice through the intercom, clipped, urgent, we have a situation, floor 32, now. The hand drops. The moment, the third and most devastating almost, dissolves into the recycled air. Sunwon's phone lights up. Seoul. His father's name is on the screen. He looks at it, he looks at her. My father is coming to Houston, he says. He lands tomorrow morning. A pause that has something dreadful inside it. He already knows your name. If Naomi's story is sitting in your chest right now, if you have ever poured yourself into someone who was quietly using you the whole time, drop a white heart in the comments. You are not alone in this story. And if you need to know what someone chooses when his father gives him an ultimatum, subscribe right now and turn on your notifications. I am not going to let the algorithm bury what comes next. The subscribe button is the only guarantee you'll be here for it. Dana calls at 6:14 in the morning, and Naomi is already awake. She has been awake since someone said her name with his hand near her face and then walked out of the room to take a call from Seoul. She has been awake thinking about Grace Whitfield, about the rain on I-285, about the particular cruelty of a man who can make loss look like weather. Dana's voice is a half-whisper that means she is trying not to move. There is a man outside my building, Naomi. Ground floor, gray sedan, engine running. He's been there since last night. He does not belong here. Naomi is on her feet before the sentence ends. She is halfway down the hall toward Sunwon's office when the door opens. He takes one look at her face, at the set of her jaw and the phone pressed to her chest, and says, "Tell me what you need." 3 words. She has not been asked that question in 9 years. It stops her completely for one suspended second, the shock of being asked, simply, without condition, without caveat, and she swallows it down and says, "My sister. Atlanta. There's a man watching her building and I need him gone." Sunwon turns to Seo Hyun, who is already in the corridor. 2 sentences in Korean. Seo Hyun is on his phone before Sunwon finishes speaking. 40 minutes, Sunwon tells her. Dana is secured in 38. The waiting carves something open in both of them. They sit across from each other at the kitchen table, not at opposite ends, but angled, close, and the urgency of the past hour sits in the room around them like something that has burned off, leaving everything underneath it visible. "Tell me what it cost you," he says, "not the accounts, not the house." She looks at him for a long moment. "I was good at reading people," she says, "before him. In the you learn fast who is telling you their real symptoms, who is protecting someone who is more scared than they're letting on. I was good at it." She turns the mug in her hands. "By year 4, I couldn't trust my own assessments of anyone. I thought I was losing clinical judgment. I thought I was burning out." A pause. "I was just living in a house where lying was the ambient noise. I had adjusted to it." Sunwon is very still across from her. "Raymond didn't just take the house," she says. "He made me doubt the one thing I actually knew how to do." Silence. "Then you read me correctly the night we met." His voice is low and even and completely without performance. "You knew I wasn't going to hurt you. You stayed and worked on a man I had just shot while I stood 3 feet away. Your instincts are not broken, Naomi." A breath. They were just being deliberately undermined by someone with a reason to break them. She does not cry, but the back of her throat aches with the specific sensation of something being returned to her, something she had not realized someone else was holding. His hand crosses the table. He picks up her hand, turns it over, and examines her palm with the focused care of someone conducting an examination. The railing. She had held it too hard during the call with Dana, the way she always channels fear into grip. "It's fine," she says. "I know." He does not let go. The clinical pretext dissolves. His thumb traces the line of her palm once, slowly, and the touch detonates through her entire nervous system with the specific force of something that has been held back for exactly long enough. She looks at him. He says her name, Naomi, like it means something that requires no translation. She closes the distance. The kiss is brief and certain, and entirely without performance. 2 people finding each other with the quiet conviction of people who have been looking for longer than they admitted. She feels his hand at the back of her jaw, careful and deliberate, and she presses into it, and the whole broken year, Raymond, College Park, the wrong street, the alley, the folder with her name on it, all of it exists on the other side of this moment like weather that has moved on. When they pull apart, she is breathing differently. So is he. Seo Hyun appears in the doorway, and the expression on his face realigns everything. Not apologetic, like a man delivering something with weight. He speaks in Korean. Sunwon's face goes blank, not the closed-door blank of his default composure. The white wall blank of genuine damage control activating. He looks at Naomi. Raymond filed a legal complaint with the Texas Medical Board this morning. He's named you in a medical fraud allegation. A pause. Your nursing license is under review. Chairman Kang does not arrive with much drama. He arrives at 9 a.m. with 2 men she never sees and 1 carry-on bag, and the specific energy of a person who has never once in his life waited for a room to be ready for him. He is in his early 70s. Silver-haired, compact, immaculate in the way that suggests discipline rather than wealth as the primary motivation. He has Sunwon's eyes and none of Sunwon's restraint toward the world. When he enters the main room and finds Naomi there, he stops. He looks at her, the way you look at a variable that has appeared in an equation where it does not belong. He does not greet her. He speaks to Sunwon in Korean. His voice is even and deliberate and calibrated to land. Naomi stands in the room and does not look at the floor and does not look away. She does not understand the words. She understands the register. She has heard that register before, in hospital administrative meetings, when someone with authority decides a problem has exceeded the acceptable tolerance for patients. Sunwon responds in Korean, shorter. His father speaks again. Longer this time, his eyes return to Naomi twice with the casual assessment of someone pricing something. She keeps her face open and neutral. He says, Sunwon says, turning to her, that he is pleased to meet a woman with the composure not to fidget when being discussed in a language she cannot understand. Please tell him, she says, that growing up Black in America is an advanced course in exactly that skill. A silence. Then Chairman Kang looks at his son and says one sentence in Korean, and something moves at the corner of Yi-won's mouth. Contained. Involuntary. He says you're direct. I am. The chairman takes a seat. He folds his hands on the table and looks at her with eyes that are not unkind and are not warm and are entirely, utterly honest. There is an arrangement, he says in English, accented and precise. Politics, between our family and the Park family in Seoul. A marriage negotiated when Sunwon was 23. It has been dormant. He pauses. Recent events have made it active again. The room is very quiet. My son has built something in this country that is worth preserving, he continues. The arrangement protects those interests. The woman in Seoul understands what the arrangement is. It is not about love. It is about continuation. His eyes move to hers. What you have here is interesting to him. I see that. But interesting is not enough reason to destabilize 30 years of careful construction. Naomi holds his gaze and feels the specific pain of being reduced to a liability while sitting upright and maintaining eye contact with the person doing it. She has performed this before. She will not let the performance slip. I appreciate your directness, Chairman Kang, she says. I'll match it. I didn't come to Houston looking for your son. I came here to survive my own situation. Everything that followed was his choice. If you want to talk about destabilization, I'd suggest the conversation start with Raymond Lee and what he's been doing to Korean-American financial infrastructure for 4 years, not with the nurse who happened to turn down the wrong street. Silence. The chairman looks at his son. Sunwon is looking at her. Something in his expression has abandoned all pretense of architecture. He is looking at her the way she looked at the photograph in the folder, with the specific attention of someone seeing a thing clearly for the first time. The meeting breaks. The chairman goes to his rooms. Sunwon stays. He stands at the window, and she stands across the room, and the question she has been not asking since 9 a.m. fills the space between them. The empire or the woman? She heard it the third time the chairman spoke. Sunwon had translated the edges of the conversation, but she had enough, the shape of it, the weight of it, to understand. The arrangement, the alliance, the machinery that had been running for 30 years before she had a name in anyone's life. You don't have to explain anything to me, she says. I know. He turns from the window. I want to. She meets his eyes. I have been building toward Raymond for 2 years, he says. The case. The evidence. The people. I told myself it was about grace. I told myself it was about the network, the money, the justice of a specific thing that was never made right. A pause. His voice does not change pitch. I was lying to myself for approximately the last 6 months of that. She does not speak. Seo Hyun has been reporting your location and activities to my father since you arrived. Not to endanger you. He was trying to manage the exposure before it grew beyond the point where my father would feel forced to act. Yi-won's voice is even and entirely clear. I only learned this tonight. I want you to know because you will figure it out on your own in approximately a day, and I would rather you hear it from me. One more thing. There is one more thing in his face. He crosses toward her. The door to her room is open behind her. The corridor is lit. The city is lit. Seo Hyun is somewhere down the hall and the chairman is 3 rooms away. And the world is enormous and waiting, and none of it matters because Kang Jae-won is standing in front of her with something on his face that she has no name for yet, and he opens his mouth. Her room is empty when he gets there. A note on the pillow. You built something real. I won't be the reason it burns. Take care of yourself, Sunwon. N. He reads it twice, folds it once, and presses it into his inside jacket pocket, left side, over his chest. Then he finds Seo Hyun, and his voice, when he speaks, is not raised and not frantic. It is the voice of a man who has made a decision so definitive that volume is no longer required. Find her, bring her back. Gate C14. Atlanta, direct, departing 11:40 a.m. Naomi sits in the plastic seat with her boarding pass face down in her lap and her carry-on between her feet and her hands, folded over her knees in the particular stillness of a woman who has made the right decision and is not at peace with it. She has rehearsed the reasoning. She is good at clinical reasoning. She can hold its logic cleanly and walk its perimeter without finding a flaw. He has an empire. He has a father with 30 years of architecture. He has an arrangement that predates her by decades. She has a suspended nursing license, a fraudulent financial trail in her name, and a documented history of loving a man who was never what she thought he was. She is, by every measurable metric, a liability wrapped in a situation. The most loving thing she can do for Sunwon is leave the frame entirely before the chairman makes the decision for both of them. She has walked this logic 6 times. It holds. It holds, and she is sitting in gate C14 with a boarding pass and a carry-on and a left palm that still feels warm where his thumb traced it, and she is absolutely, completely, entirely at peace with her decision. She is not at peace with her decision. She sees him when he is still 30 feet away. No bodyguards, no car, no controlled entrance into a room that has been pre-cleared. He is moving through a public airport in his suit at 11:19 a.m., finding her in the crowd the way she has begun to understand he finds things, with the certainty of someone who already knew where to look. He cuts through the noise of the terminal, and she watches him come, and she stands up before she has decided to stand up, the body making its own argument. He stops in front of her. They are close, arms reach. The airport presses in around them, gate announcements, a child crying somewhere left, the smell of carpet cleaning fluid and bad coffee, all of it ordinary and entirely irrelevant. He looks at her the way he looked at the note. You were protecting something that wasn't yours to protect, he says. You've worked for it for years, Sunwon. I know what I've worked for. His voice is quiet and absolute. I also know what I decided this morning. She waits. I told my father that the arrangement had been dormant for 11 years and would remain so. I told him that the Park family had built their expectations on the assumption of my cooperation, and I would not be cooperating. A breath. He was not pleased. Your operations are not his. Something moves through his eyes, not anger, the cleaner emotion underneath anger. Certainty. I built them. They are mine. What he can threaten, I can rebuild. What I cannot, he stops and starts again. I have been careful my entire life, Naomi. Deliberately, strategically careful. I have kept every person I value at a distance I could manage and defend. I told myself this was protection. I was protecting myself. She is very still. I watched Raymond do to you what he did to Grace. I watched you survive it. I watched you walk into an alley and save a man's life with your hands shaking and call it being too tired to run. He takes one more step forward, inside arm's reach now, the airport entirely irrelevant. I have been careful my whole life, and it has produced a penthouse and an empire and 11 years since Busen and I do not, his voice adjusts, finds its register. I do not want to be careful about you. She looks at him. 9 years with Raymond has made her precise about the difference between a man who says what she needs to hear and a man who says the thing that costs him something. This costs him something. She can see the price of it in the set of his jaw and the directness of his eyes, the particular clarity of a man who has burned something down on purpose. I need you to know, she says, that I am a woman with a suspended nursing license, a fraudulent financial history that isn't mine but will take years to clear, and a documented tendency to drive to other states when overwhelmed. I know. And you. I know. And then, quietly without ceremony, I also know that you make tea wrong because you add the honey before the steep, and you corrected it without asking me, and you have been sleeping better in my building than I sleep in it. A pause. I know who you are, Naomi. I started learning a long time ago. I haven't finished. She reaches up. Both hands. She holds his face the way she holds things that need steadying, with the full certainty of practiced hands that have never once dropped what they were trusted with. He goes still under her palms the way people go still when they are being finally seen. His eyes close once and open. She closes the distance. The kiss is not brief this time. It is the length of everything that preceded it. The alley, the folder, the rooftop, the almost moments, the note, the airport plastic seat, compressed and answered and made real. His hand finds the small of her back and presses, certain, and she exhales into him like something that has been held at tension for 9 months, 14 months, her entire adult life. The airport continues around them, indifferent, beautiful, entirely unaware. When she pulls back, her phone is ringing. Dana, she answers. Dana's voice is tight in the way that means she is somewhere public, composing herself carefully. Naomi, Raymond just held a press conference in Atlanta. He released everything, your name, the accounts, Sunwon's name, the network. It's on every major news channel. He a breath. He's smiling on camera, Naomi. He's been building to this. This was always the plan. Naomi looks at Sunwon. His phone lights up simultaneously. Seoul. His father's name on the screen, the call he has been expecting, the one that means I told you. Now look. He looks at the screen. He looks at her. He takes her hand. Not privately, not quickly, not with any pretense of strategy or calculation. In the middle of Houston Hobby Airport with cameras and civilians and a press conference playing on every phone screen, Kang Jae-won takes Naomi Carter's hand in front of the world and answers his father's call. Algisioyo, his voice is even, unhurried, the voice of a man standing on ground he chose. I know, I'll handle it. A pause. His hand tightens around hers. But understand something, father, she stays. He ends the call. The gate agent announces final boarding for Atlanta. Naomi looks at her boarding pass, at the man beside her, at the city outside the terminal windows. Houston, with its wide sky and its wrong streets and its impossible alleyways. She puts the boarding pass in her pocket. And Naomi Carter, who had signed divorce papers on a Tuesday, driven to another state on a Thursday, and turned down the wrong street on a night that turned out to be exactly the right one, stood in an airport full of strangers and let herself be chosen. Not saved. Not rescued, but chosen. By a man who had learned her name before she'd given it, who had pressed a note she'd left him to the left side of his chest, who had just handed his father his answer in front of the world. She had spent 9 years making herself smaller. She was done. You watched the whole thing, every chapter. Almost every moment he almost said it and didn't. That means you are exactly the kind of viewer this channel was built for. Now do one thing for me, not 10 things, one thing. Share this video with one person who needs a story today. One person who has loved someone who didn't deserve it. One person who needs to see a woman like Naomi get chosen the right way. That one share is how this story reaches the people it was made for and how season 2 gets written. Because Raymond Lee is smiling on every screen in America right now. He thinks he just won. He has absolutely no idea what Kang Sun-won looks like when someone he loves is being threatened. You've seen glimpses. Season 2, you'll see everything. Subscribe. Turn on your notifications. Come back next week. I'll see you there.